I believe it was Saturday morning, the Oakland Raiders, they sent their future, in my opinion, future Hall of Fame player, Khalil Mack, away. He has the most pressures out of any player in the league over the past 4 seasons. The trade was this: Khalil Mack sent to Chicago. The Raiders sent Chicago not only just Khalil Mack. You might be thinking they would just send Khalil Mack, but instead they sent Khalil Mack and a conditional second-round pick. And sorry, it's not a conditional second-round pick
and a conditional
a conditional fifth-round pick
Yeah.
and a second-round pick. They got 2 first rounds in return in 2019 and 2020, as well as a third-round pick and a 6th-round pick. So, David, what is your takeaway from the trade?
All right, so I'm just gonna make a hot take here and say that the Raiders were kind of dumb with this trade.
That's a hot take.
I've seen
that one out there.
I mean, obviously, like we heard about how they apparently they offered him a number. He countered, and of course they signed Derek Carr to that ridiculous contract. That was like a lot of money.
Not ridiculous anymore.
It's not as ridiculous.
I mean,
it's like my Falcons fan, Matt Ryan, almost.
That's the thing about it. It's not stupid because we're 1 year later from Matt Ryan. No, when did Matt Ryan sign?
He signed this summer.
This summer, right?
Yeah,
He
exactly.
signed for just over 25. Carr signed for 25.
Yeah.
And we're 1 year later from Carr, and it's now $33.5 million per year for Aaron Rodgers. So that's almost a $9 million difference. So when people say, "Oh, like be careful what you're giving them now," but the cap keep moving, it's going to be $200 million in the next few years. $200 million.
I don't understand why they couldn't at least just suck it up and go with it, man. I mean, that pass rush. All right, so the Raiders' pass rush was already weak last year. It was pretty average with Khalil Mack. What is it gonna be like without Khalil Mack? I mean, former defensive player of the year, like a guaranteed future Hall of Famer. Like this would be the Broncos trading Von Miller.
Honestly, you asked people in the Raiders a week ago, and I think most people in the NFL would probably take Khalil Mack over Von Miller. So I think it's even worse than that. But, I mean, also just go to your point, the Raiders have had pretty poor pass rushes in the past few years. This year you were thinking it might be pretty good with Khalil Mack.
Maybe.
With Arden Key on the other edge. With Bruce Irvin. They drafted Maurice Hurst in the 5th round. Pro Football Focus had him rated as the #1 player entering the draft. There was the heart issue. Made him fall to the 5th round. So the Raiders, they finally had those pieces in combination with Khalil Mack that made you think, wow, this has the potential to be an elite unit in the NFL. And then they ship Mack away. They don't even get a player back for Khalil Mack to be on this field this year.
All right. So the 2 first-rounders, I mean, that's nice. They get 2 more first-rounders. I mean, they're not in the same year, but I mean, that's a good deal there. But then, so you mean to tell me that Khalil Mack wasn't enough? Like you had to send over, what is it, a 3rd-round pick they send over, or a 2nd-round pick?
Yeah, it's a 2nd-round pick.
Second in the conditional 5th-rounder? Yeah, I mean, why? But this turns the Chicago Bears into an interesting contender because their defense was already. I don't think they're like a playoff contender by any means, but I definitely think that their record will drastically improve because that defense was already pretty solid. Like from what we've seen, the biggest struggles that the Bears have had has been quarterback play. Honestly, with Mitch Trubisky being that rookie that came off after Mike Glennon was removed as a starter, it was just like it was piss poor quarterback play. But now they have a defense. They have Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. I think probably the best running back committee in the NFL.
They got some good receivers.
And they got Allen Robinson too. If Mitch Trubisky can actually play, this is an interesting team to watch here.
Yeah, I mean, just with the Bears, I think they've built. They're gonna be a really good football team. They may not win very many games because of the quarterback play, and if Trubisky turns out to be good, then they're gonna be really good. But even if Trubisky doesn't, I think the rest of the team will be really good in the future.
I think they're a 7-win team now. I think they're a 7 or 8-win team.
But I think the defense would be carrying Trubisky a lot. I'm not a big fan of Trubisky, but if you build the rest of your team and you give Trubisky this year, you can still draft a quarterback 2 years down the line and once you do have your first round pick and get after it and have a really good team. So I think for the Bears, obviously you just stole a Hall of Famer. He's going to be wearing a gold jacket for the Chicago Bears in
new monster of the Midway coming at you.
And then one last thing I think with the Raiders is if you didn't have the money with Mark Davis, there's a question if maybe he just didn't have $90 million to give up. Why did you trade Khalil Mack now? They could have held on to him because with the trade, you didn't get anyone for this season. So there's no difference in trading Khalil Mack today as there would have been if you traded him in March, because you could have had Khalil Mack sit out the entire year and then trade him. Then you know what draft picks you're getting. Then you're actually getting players that could help you now. Also, no players actually hold out and miss games. Like, we rarely see that. You don't think Khalil's going to miss day one in training camp and then right a week before the season?
He was an avid leader in that locker room, too. I doubt he would ever set that example.
I bet he would. And then if he comes back, wherever, if it's week 1 or week 7, because it doesn't matter compared to that trade, because right now you have no one coming in. That other option, you didn't have anyone coming in either if Mack holds out. Then Mack holds out. Say, well, Mack doesn't like you guys, he's just not going to sign an extension. Well, he plays this year, and then you slap a franchise tag on him, and then you trade him before the draft. Then you know what you're getting in the draft, and you got Mack for an extra year. It's just, it's completely idiotic.
Yeah. Moving on to the next trade that we have on the roster here, Teddy Bridgewater was sent to the Saints. First thing I'm thinking here is Sam Darnold, obviously he's going to be the first week starter. And watching Colin Cowherd this morning, he said that he thinks that he's the most NFL ready of all the quarterbacks.
Cowherd talked about the NFL, even with LeBron in LA.
Yeah, I know, right? But all right, so Teddy Bridgewater to the Saints. What does this mean here? The Saints, they're probably preparing for Drew Brees to be done soon. I mean, he signed that contract, but I mean, how much longer do they think? I definitely think that the Jets got some decent value out of it. They got the 3rd round pick. Is that what they got?
Yeah, they had to give up Bridgewater and a 6th
for a 3rd round pick. So the Jets here, they're making a move. I think it was a smart one. They have a backup in Josh McCown who can definitely win them a couple of games if Darnold is playing rough. But they didn't need 3 QBs on that roster. So I think trying to have like the idea of like, oh, we've got 3 QBs who could win games for us, it was smart for them to just go ahead and move Teddy Bridgewater because there's nothing to brag home about having 3 QBs on your roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a win-win for both teams. For the Jets, you put Darnold out there, so Darnold is going to get valuable experience. And even if Darnold isn't great at the beginning, you lose a lot of games, doesn't matter. Then you get a high draft pick. So it works out both ways.
My only worry is for Todd Bowles, because Todd Bowles, I mean, he's a great coach. I think he's
I don't think he's on the hot seat.
I don't think he is, but this would be 3 years in a row of them not performing like playoff level. But they have had so many mishaps with that roster.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
But I don't think he will be. But just the fact that this could potentially be a 3rd year in a row of them missing out on the playoffs, having
But last year they were projected to go 0-16 by people.
They definitely overperformed,
and they won a lot of games. So that him being on the hot seat is absurd. But just to go back, the Jets. Now they can play Darnold. If they lose, whatever, they get a better draft pick. And they got a 3rd round pick. That's not great, but you can get a pretty good player, get a starter in the 3rd round. You should expect someone drafted in the 3rd round to be a starter if you're drafting well. On the Saints side, they get their heir apparent to Drew Brees, and Teddy Bridgewater was a great quarterback. Everyone loved him up until his injury, so the talent is there. You know he can play.
Yeah.
He just needs time to sit back and make sure he's 100% healthy. And there's no better place to do that than behind Drew Brees. Because Drew Brees will run the show for probably the next 2 years. And then Bridgewater will be 100% healthy. Will have learned behind Drew Brees and will have Sean Payton there. So I think it's an excellent move from the New Orleans Saints.
Very smart for both sides.
Great move.
All right, moving on to some